LEGO made some news today by announcing the upcoming release of 5 new Star Wars sets related to their 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars. Now, also a retailer in Europe put out some images of the new 18+ sorting hat as part of the Harry Potter line. Now, collectively, these 6 sets, I think, show something about LEGO and their decision making. So yes, I will give you some of my quick takes on these sets, but more importantly, I think it allows us to zoom out and look at the risk-taking that LEGO makes, as well as the trade-offs that are inherent with any set that LEGO comes out with, especially as it relates to that sorting hat set. So let's set up some context for you. First and foremost, it's important to understand that LEGO is a business, and in order for them to thrive, they have to take risks. It's how they got to be the #1 toy company in the world, and it's important to note that every set that they release carries some amount of risk. There may not be a lot of risk in some sets, especially the tried and true evergreen themes, but sometimes LEGO will push the envelope. It'll work, and sometimes it won't work. Now, the other part of context for this is I like Star Wars. I'm a fan of the movies, many of the shows, although I have never purchased a LEGO Star Wars set for myself. I've bought some for my kids and I've bought some for other people. In fact, about a year ago, I put out a video detailing that I've not purchased a Star Wars set for myself and was hoping that 2023 would be that year. Well, in the end, the Star Wars sets they did release didn't really fit my budget or my interest, and I was hoping maybe 2024 would be that. I think we're getting much closer to that with the release of these 5 sets. One of the reasons I find these sets intriguing is because they are all iconic parts of the Star Wars universe. Now, along those lines, the sorting hat from Harry Potter also is iconic. But there's 2 different levels of risk that we're going to be talking about throughout this video that LEGO's taking with these sets. Now, the last thing I want to mention is that because I'm a middle-class American, I'm not going to be buying all of these sets, and so I'm going to be evaluating them with a focus on what makes sense for both my interest in LEGO as well as my budget. Let's go ahead and start with the Star Wars sets, where we're getting 3 midi-scale sets, a buildable figure, and a diorama. Let's start in the reverse order there with the diorama, the Tantive 4 boarding that features Darth Vader, 5 other minifigs, and a 25th anniversary minifig. Now, I have to say, this set is really intriguing to me because I love the original trilogy of Star Wars. It's one of my favorite sets of movies, and this is that iconic first scene that really gets you wrapped up into the movie. Now, in terms of value, I like that it's $55 and you get about 500 pieces and 7 minifigs. Now, I am not a Star Wars LEGO aficionado, so I can't tell you if that's really outside the norm, but having followed LEGO Star Wars relatively closely over the last couple of years, that strikes me as a pretty good deal. Now, the same thing can be said with the R2-D2 buildable minifigure. So this set is $100, it's a little over 1,000 pieces. You get 2 minifigs. One of them is the R2-D2, the other is a 25th anniversary minifig, and it's Darth Malak, which I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, it's the first time we're getting that figure. Now, what's appealing to me about this set is that it gives you an opportunity to have a display set R2-D2 that would be fun to build, in a good size for the entire family, and an affordable or relatively affordable price. Now, I say affordable because yes, $100 costs a lot, but given the other buildable R2-D2s they've had over the years, this one is much more doable. I think the one that's currently available at UCS scale is $240. Now, the 3 midi-scale sets I think are really interesting because LEGO did some midi-scale sets, including a midi-scale Millennium Falcon, about a dozen to 14 years ago. And what's intriguing about these sets is that you get some really cool ships. I like the Tantive 4, I like the Millennium Falcon, and the Invisible Hand is really cool that they're bringing that into the LEGO universe. So 3 really good options that you get at different price points. Now, what's intriguing about these sets is that it gives you an opportunity to get some of them at a price point you normally wouldn't. For instance, take the Millennium Falcon. Now, this is an iconic ship, perhaps the most iconic ship in LEGO and movie history. I mean, it's one that you associate with Star Wars immediately. But the minifig scale set is about $170. This one is coming in at $85 for just over 900 pieces. So it gives you the lowest price point possible to get a reasonably sized Millennium Falcon. How big is it? Well, looking at the dimensions, you can see that it is about 32 studs from front to back and about 24, maybe 25 studs from side to side. That is a pretty sizable set. One of the other things I like about these MIDI scale sets is that it forces LEGO to use some creative building techniques and use pieces in ways that they might not otherwise be designed. For instance, at the back of the invisible hand, you've got a ice skate, which is really cool to see how they use that in the set. So I want to talk now about trade-offs, because I think it's an important thing to understand as it relates to LEGO sets. Now, trade-offs are apparent and evident everywhere in your life, whether it's your family life, your work or school life, or of course, even with relationships. The time you spend doing one thing is time you can't spend doing something else. Now, in the context of LEGO, of course, there are trade-offs with sets. For instance, with Star Wars, you've got the MIDI scale sets that don't include any minifigs. That's an important trade-off to mention. Many fans like LEGO sets because of the minifigs. These don't have them. At the same time, the scaled down R2-D2, if you want to call it that, based on the UCS size, allows you to get a more affordable set, but also gives up some of the details, maybe some of the functionality and play features that the UCS versions come with. The same thing can be said for the diorama. Anytime you set up a diorama, you are going to be using pieces in the base of the set to provide that framing. Those are trade-offs that you have to make, right? You can't put those pieces or the value of those pieces in other places in the set. So these trade-offs are real in every single LEGO set. Now let's talk about Star Wars as a risk-taking venture. Star Wars is one of the most, if not the most profitable lines for LEGO. If you look at their year-end reports, they will oftentimes tell you the top 5 themes for that year. And Star Wars, at least in the United States and many other countries, is one of the top selling themes. But that doesn't mean there isn't risk involved with releasing Star Wars sets. There are Star Wars sets that are kind of, well, a dud. Now, the MIDI scale sets, they sold once before. They put out some in 2009, 2010. So it's not as if the MIDI scale is brand new, nor is a buildable R2-D2. They've had a couple of UCS versions of that. And of course, the dioramas sell or have sold well enough that they can continue to put some out. That said, LEGO is taking a bit of a risk when it comes to releasing these Star Wars sets. They only can release so many Star Wars sets in a given year, and so every set that they come out with is a slot that they wouldn't be able to use for something else. On top of that, the MIDI scale sets are not something that LEGO's done in a long time. Maybe that concept is a bit outdated. Maybe it's that the buildable R2-D2 is great at the UCS scale, but maybe lacks the appeal at the $100 scale. The LEGO fans may only want that UCS or something that's in a poly bag, or just the minifig itself would be fine. Now that leads me to the sorting hat. And what I like about talking about these sets together is that the sorting hat is on a different level than the Star Wars sets. And I'm not saying on a different level in a good or bad way, but a different level in terms of risk-taking. The sorting hat is a big pile of brown pieces, but it's still difficult to have a largely monochromatic set. One of the risks that LEGO is taking here is by including a sound brick. Now, the sound brick in and of itself is not brand new as a concept to LEGO. You go back to 2009, the Grand Carousel had a sound brick. I think one of the UFO sets and some others had sound bricks, but the sound bricks were different. They played one thing. This sorting hat gives you 31 different phrases uttered by the sorting hat throughout the movies of Harry Potter. Now, another risk of this is that it adds to the cost and forces LEGO to include some functionality with the set. So going back to trade-offs now, you can see that there has to be some element of the set that holds in that sound brick that allows you to toggle that sound brick, I think by turning or moving the top of the hat. So there are trade-offs with this set as well as risks that LEGO is taking, and I think these trade-offs are bigger and the risk is much, much greater with the sorting hat than it is these 5 Star Wars sets that were announced today. Another risk to the sorting hat is that it's not a conventional set. But this one comes with a pretty bad price per piece ratio. I know a lot of LEGO adult fans look at the PPP to determine whether it's valuable for them to get the set or whether it's worth investing in it. And the reality is that for $80, I think this is going to be, I know some rumors were $100, but the retailer leaked the images or put out the images and the price is 79 euros. I'm guessing it's going to be about 79 or 80 US dollars because those track pretty closely. That's pretty high for the 560-ish pieces that you're getting with this set. If you just wanted the sorting hat, you wouldn't get the sound brick. You might wait for it to go on sale, but they're hoping that enough people want to experiment with sound. And that's quite a big risk. Furthermore, there's a risk with this because I don't know, and I don't think fans know, just how long this sound brick is going to hold on. I don't know how long the battery's going to last. Is it worth spending $80 on a set when you know that there's a limited lifespan on the battery? I'm just not sure it's worth that for me or many others for that matter. So this is quite the risk that LEGO is taking. What are we taking away by exploring the risk-taking that LEGO is doing with some of these sets? Well, I want to underscore that it's important for LEGO to take risks to maintain their spot as a prominent, if not the #1 toy company in the world. If we go back to all different kinds of themes, sometimes risks work and sometimes they don't, right? In 2007, LEGO took a risk by coming out with a modular building, the Cafe Corner. It was successful and we've had at least one modular building every single year since then. There are times though when risks don't work, like the video line or the Hulkbuster or that foosball table that was such a disaster from last year. So which of these sets am I most likely to purchase? Well, if I had to go with one, it would definitely be the Millennium Falcon, followed by the Tantive 4 boarding. I think those are the two sets that really strike my fancy and are ones that are intriguing to me as somebody who's looking to get some Star Wars sets that display iconic scenes at a relatively strong value. Now, will I get them on day one? Probably not. March 1st is going to be a pretty good release day for LEGO, and from rumors that I've heard, they're coming out with the Medieval Market Village reboot, and I'm going to focus my resources on that. But I might get one of those two Star Wars sets at some point for double insiders points, or if they have a really good gift with purchase some other point down the line. Before you head on out, check out this video down here and make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and always remember to keep building together.